This series of videos will help individuals and organizations develop or enhance their active offer of services in French. The following video is primarily addressed to these groups of professionals: Anglophone and Francophone legal professionals working in the Saskatchewan justice system or in private law offices in the province; professional staff working in the provincial justice system as well as in related services such as police officers, social workers, interpreters, mediators, correctional officers, and probation officers. This video is also addressed to all workers providing services to the public from agencies, associations, or organizations in the field of justice. The following video will show you how professionals are able to reinforce their ability to actively offer services in both official languages.
Who is called on to exercise professional leadership, and how can they do so?
Many people are called on to exercise professional leadership, and we will find them in every part of the justice system. Both Anglophone and Francophone legal professionals working in the court system or even in private law offices in Saskatchewan are called upon to exercise that type of leadership. Also, all the staff working in the province's court system, as well as in related services such as police officers, correctional officers, probation officers, social workers, interpreters, mediators, translators, all of these people need to be conscious of how they can influence the active offer of French language services in the justice system. Also, all workers providing services to the public from other agencies, associations, or organizations that are active in the field of justice. So it really means all professionals. And how do they do that? They do that by building their own and their group's capacity for actively offering quality French language legal and court services throughout Saskatchewan. And in that way, they're ensuring equitable access to justice for all French-speaking people. It's an important responsibility for professionals in the justice system. They also do it by modeling the way to active offer of French language services by showcasing linguistic duality in Canada and showcasing the two official languages. And they encourage and they facilitate the active offer of services in both official languages, no matter where they are in the system.
And how can professionals reinforce their capacity for actively offering services in both official languages?
And they can do that in many ways, Lise. By adopting, for example, an ethical, client-centered approach. If their approach is client-centered, then they will be more aware of the rights of the individuals requesting those services and of the difficult situations in which those clients can find themselves occasionally. They can do it also by respecting their professional code of ethics, by the way that they greet people who are asking for French language services or who should have French language services, by being very open about it, and also by informing them on the right of those clients to continue being served in French throughout the process on which they are embarking. There's, at the same time, the human dimension and the material dimension. So all of the professionals in the human dimension will focus on how they interact with French language citizens, with French language residents, with anyone who requests, needs, or requires French language services. But they will also be conscious of the climate in which they find themselves in the material dimension, in the sense of, are there documents? Is there signage? How do they answer the phone? That type of thing. And they can also ensure their own up-to-date training to offer French language services.
And how can professionals, Francophone and Anglophone, model the way to an active offer of French language services?
Well, certainly they can model the way by knowing and promoting the laws that affect the linguistic laws, the Languages Act, the French Language Services Policy, the French Language Court Services Policy, and also the active offer reference framework. If they know it, if they believe in it, then they can use that and they can promote it, whether their language is French or English, to their colleagues, to the people that they work with. They need also to recognize the foundations, the very solid foundations, and the fundamentals of active offer. To recognize and to promote the equality of French and English in Canada. To recognize and to promote the real equality of official language communities, and to inform all of their clients, whether they are lawyers, judges, or police officers, of their language rights.
And André, how can professionals further develop their capacity to actively offer language services in both languages?
Well, they need to really support active offer of French language services through concrete measures. But those measures need to demonstrate their commitment to respecting language rights. Through their behavior, through their communication of their values, of what they think of bilingualism and equity in relation to official languages, by maintaining a climate of respect for both official languages within their working areas and with their colleagues and with their clients, and to exercise leadership with regard to official languages. Other ways where they can also reinforce their capacity is to enroll in training programs to improve their language skills. Many professionals have basic language skills in French, but they're still too shy to use French in conversations and in dealing with their clients. Additional training will solve that. As needed, they need to enroll in training programs that are related to law and justice, but that are offered by community-based institutions. This will allow the professionals to develop more contacts, more connections, and more partnerships with individuals in the community and with groups in the community. They need to highlight the availability of French language documents and forms. Some are already available. They're there. They're just not prominent. And nobody is showing the client where those documents are, where those forms are, in French, so that they can use them. I imagine that most professionals can find a way to greet the public in both official languages. Even if they don't speak French, they can certainly say bonjour and go from there. Ensure that notices are posted in both official languages. Most of those notices come through their offices, through their hands. Sometimes they're the ones who write them. Well, they need to be conscious of the importance that those notices come out in both official languages.
Who is ultimately responsible for the active offer of French language services in the field of justice?
It has to be a collaborative and a shared responsibility. The government can't do this alone. The justice system needs to exercise its leadership. The legal professionals, the professionals working within the system, and the related services such as police or parole officers or those types of services all need to be involved and participate very actively in setting up active offer of French language services. Then finally, the community. If the community is not there, if people are not requesting the services, if they're not using the services, then all this will be useless. So it really needs to be a very large collaborative effort.
And what role does each group of actors play?
At the systemic level, I think creating favorable conditions and taking the actions that we've just talked about. Then once these favorable conditions are in place, once the framework has been set up, then the organizations and pieces of the organizations can put structures and processes and tools in place for this work to happen. The professionals need to keep building their capacity to support the active offer of French language services and to participate in that active offer and to create within their own workplace the kind of climate that will ensure that both French language and English-speaking clients will feel comfortable in using their services. Finally, the community has a lot of work to do to make sure that people are aware of what services they can access, and that they use these services so that all of this effort is worthwhile.
And how can ethical and collaborative leadership be exercised across the system?
By partnerships, by agreements between multiple partners. And there are community groups, there are professional groups. We only need to mention the Law Society of Saskatchewan, many other groups, both working in the French language and working in the English language, really need to cooperate to make this a reality.
And André, what results will be achieved if we do implement an active offer of French language services?
Well, some very important results. When the active offer of French language services is in place and it's working and the community has confidence in those services, then it increases confidence in the justice system. It increases access to justice for this population. It provides better quality services because language is part of quality of service. And it enhances and promotes linguistic duality in Canada, which is certainly an identity characteristic of Canada.
So in a nutshell, André, active offer is?
In a nutshell, it's a question of legitimacy, respect, equity, and equality, and it's a question of ethics. But it's also a collective and a systemic issue. It's not related to just one department, one region, one player. And it's a question of systemic, organizational, professional, and community leadership. Each one has to exercise his or her leadership in his or her responsibility.
The Centre Info Justice can help you by providing information, resources, and facilitation services throughout the implementation process. Make sure to view these other videos in our series. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please contact the AGEFS Centre Info Justice. Thanks again for watching.